from now I'll be pounding the streets. It's been a while since I've done a video, so I thought I would put something out just to confirm that I'm actually going to go to Amsterdam, and that I'm going to start the marathon and I am going to finish the marathon. 2 weeks ago, I wouldn't have been so confident as all that. So let me take you back over what I did 2 weeks ago, and then look forward to the weekend and kind of go over my game plan. And then finish up by saying that this is not going to be my first marathon and that I'm going to do my first marathon next spring. Confused? I was. Okay, so 2 weeks ago, I was in the state of mind where I just wasn't sure that I had any intention of starting the Amsterdam Marathon. Essentially, the problem is this: I haven't been able to do any long runs for over 3 months, and I've never been able to get anywhere near the marathon distance in my training. Amsterdam is largely a kind of an out and back route, and I didn't think there was any point in going to the start line unless there was some prospect of being able to get myself back to the finish under my own steam. If I got kind of 2/3 or 3/4 of the way around the route and found that I could no longer physically put one foot in front of the other, then the only other option would be to jump on the sweeper bus that runs at the end. And to me, that would be the ultimate humiliation. That just wasn't going to happen. Okay, so if I wasn't sure that I could actually do the marathon distance, then when I turned up in Amsterdam on Sunday, I would be really quite worried and just have no idea what to expect. So 2 weeks ago, I decided that I would go out and I would cover the marathon distance for the very first time. I knew that I wouldn't be able to run the whole distance. I did the Great North a few weeks ago, which was a half marathon, and that is the only long run that I've done in the last 3.5 months. I kind of struggled a little bit to finish the half marathon, but I got there. I managed to run about the first 10 miles, and then the rest I jog walked. So I knew I wouldn't be able to run the whole thing, but maybe by a combination of running, jog walking, and just plain walking, I could get myself to the end of the distance. And that's the way it panned out. In fact, the first half was more or less a reflection of the Great North. 16, 17 kilometres I was able to run and to do at my cruising pace, the 6 minutes a kilometre. So then from there until about 24, 25k, so that's 15, 16 miles, I jog walked, and the last 10 miles, between mile 16 and 26, I just plain did a brisk walk. I tried a speed walk, and was able to maintain that for quite a lot of the time. Then the pace gradually fell off. Okay, so I managed to do the half marathon in about 2 hours 20, which is 20 minutes more than my normal target, but always bear in mind that I haven't done any long runs since 3.5 months ago, so that's quite understandable, I think. The full marathon distance came in at 5 hours 50. My target time is 4 hours, but same caveat, haven't been able to do any training, haven't done any long runs for 3 months. So 4 hours was never going to happen. The cut-off time for Amsterdam is 6 hours, so I did come in within the cut-off time, albeit only 10 minutes inside the cut-off time. So as I head out to Amsterdam, I know that I can physically cover the distance. Not very quickly, but I think if you were to go to most 60-year-olds and say to them, tell you what, I don't want you to run at all. I just want you to walk from here 26 and a bit miles. They would just laugh at you. So even walking the distance, at 60 is a reasonable accomplishment, I think. And to be able to run half of it and walk, the last, no, even half, um, when I haven't done the training and when I've had my feet problems, I'm really quite content at that. Okay, so I know I can do the distance. I know I can come in within the cut-off time, only just. So what's the game plan for Sunday? Well, we are going to go. We fly out early tomorrow morning. We get to Amsterdam 9:30 in the morning. We'll head straight to the expo and we'll do our documentation, get our number and chip and so on. Just spend the rest of the day relaxing round about Amsterdam. The marathon on Sunday morning starts 9:30. We've got to be there by 9 o'clock. So I think we'll book a taxi from the hotel, which is only 2 or 3 miles away. We could walk there, but so we'll get a taxi there to make sure we get there in time. Jeff and Gordon, who are doing the marathon with me, Jeff, I think he'll come in well under the 4-hour time. Gordon, I think he'll come in between 4 hours, 4 hours 15. Myself, I think I'm probably going to come in about 5.5 hours. That's 20 minutes less than my test took me. But I think on the day, I'll be running in a group, so it's always much easier to run in a group than on your own. So I think I'll be able to run longer. I think I'll be able to walk for longer. And, remember, every mile that I can run instead of walking, I'm going to save 3 or 4 minutes. So if I can run even an extra 5k, then I'll knock 15-20 minutes off my time. So I think 5.5 hours, not a time to be proud of, but I think it's certainly achievable. Okay, so I'm going to manage to finish the Amsterdam Marathon, no question in my mind about that. Disappointing that I haven't been able to do the training. And in some ways, I was beginning to feel a bit like a fraud, that I'm turning up for a marathon without having done the work. But people have been saying, no, look at it the other way around. You did put in the work. It wasn't even an injury. It was a physiological problem that you had. That wasn't your fault, and despite having that, you still persevered. You still tried to find the answer. And despite not finding the answer until, by the way, we have got an answer, I think, 3 weeks ago. The easy route, the fraudulent route would be not to do the marathon. But you're actually turning up and you're going to go through the marathon distance. That's not being a fraud. That is striving to achieve despite everything. So I'm not sure I agree. Probably the truth is somewhere between the two extremes. Right, so we get Amsterdam under our belts. I think the big news is that is not going to be my first marathon. I'm not treating Amsterdam as my first marathon. I'm treating it as a training run, a familiarization process, kind of soaking up the atmosphere, being able to learn from that and use it in my first marathon, my first real marathon, which I'll come to just in a minute. So I'm just going to treat it as an ordinary run, a bit longer than normal, but an ordinary run. If I can run a little bit longer, that's great. If not, if I've got to walk 13 miles, I don't care. As long as I come in within the cut-off time, I'll be perfectly happy. And I'm confident I can do that. Okay, so if Amsterdam is not going to be my first marathon, what is? I had an entry in for the London Marathon, but there were 10 applications for every available ballot place, and not surprisingly, I didn't get one of these places. I also have a family trip to Australia in April, which means I can't do another marathon kind of from this the last week in March until the very end of April. But there is one in Australia while I'm there, but it's quite a distance away, and more importantly, it's the very day before I fly back. So medically, that's a bad idea, because when you're sitting in a plane for the best part of 24 hours, your body isn't flushing through all the toxins and so on that the marathon can cause. So that was never going to happen either. Okay, so Edinburgh Marathon just happens to be an hour's drive from here, and it also just happens to be, I think, the last weekend in April. That would seem to be the perfect solution. So the plan is to do the Edinburgh Marathon at the end of April, and that will be my first marathon when I'm 60. I'll probably do another couple of marathons in the early summer, and maybe next autumn. It was always my plan to do my first marathon at 60 and my first ultra at 61. So my plan is still to do one of the shorter ultras next autumn, about this time next year. What does that mean for training? It means I do Amsterdam, then I get started back to work after maybe a week off or a couple of weeks off. The plan is to start kind of November, the beginning of November, to give myself November and December to get back to being comfortable running the kind of half marathon distance, kind of 12 to 15 miles. If I can get reasonably comfortable with that by the new year, then I will have January, February, March to build up to the full marathon distance. So that's the 3 months that I've effectively lost this time round. So I'll be starting from a base of 12 to 15 miles, quite comfortable, doing that hopefully within the 2-hour mark, which I was able to do 2 years ago, and then build up gradually until I hit the full marathon preparation for the Edinburgh Marathon at the end of April. So it means doing a few long runs while I'm out in Australia, but I've been to Australia and I've been running there, and it's really, really enjoyable. And I don't have to worry too much about temperature, because that is the end of their summer, beginning of their spring, just like it's the end of our winter, beginning of end of their summer, beginning of their autumn. Just like it's the end of our winter, beginning of our spring. So the temperatures in South Australia are going to be pretty much the same as they are here. So that'll be fantastic. Right, so there we are. We're heading to Amsterdam. We are going to do a marathon. We are going to complete the marathon within the cut-off time. I'm just going to treat it as a recreational run, learn from the experience, and we're then going to start again with our preparation and training, and head for our first marathon at the age of 60 in Edinburgh at the end of April. So there we are, guys. I will be doing reports throughout the weekend, documenting the whole thing, and looking forward to it. So wish me luck.